Good morning. Thank you for tapping on this video. You're welcome to come along with me on this imperfect journey that I keep taking in my homemaking as I desire to trust the Lord that my home will be a blessing to many others, even with its imperfections. I am taking you on a little journey. I will not show you every process, but I want to set this room up in order so that it can be ready for guests. I am not perfect, as you will see, but I try to do my best. Of course, we are living in a home that is not complete, right from the door handles all the way to the painting, the bathroom, but we thank God it's livable and we are working with it as it is. I would have felt a little shy to do this kind of a video, but I thought perhaps what I'm sharing will be a blessing to someone today. My name is Clara, a mother of two, a homeschooling mom. I work from home as well. We serve the Lord in the ministry together with my husband, so I tend to work from the home setting a lot of times, having a rather busy schedule, but just trusting the Lord to help me in serving Him from my context. So I'm hopeful that today's video would be a blessing to you as I share some of the things I have learned concerning hospitality and particularly handling the guest room, because when you practice hospitality you will tend to host people, and one of the most important things is either a guest room or a guest space. It could even be a spare bedroom in your house, but it is serving as a guest room to help you with hosting guests. So I've walked through that journey, right from having a single bedroom house to having a 2-bedroom to a bigger one. So I have experienced a little of each of that in hosting people, including when we had a 1-bedroom house, hosting them in the sitting room, guests, and even doing that at other times when you have just so many guests. So wherever point you are, I'm trusting that today's video will be a blessing. So join me. I'm not going to show you the cleaning process because I have done that in a number of other videos, and perhaps in future videos I may do, but today I just thought I will skip that, but just show you how this room was, because I chose a day when the room was really messy. Now that we have had a busy schedule this past week, I mean, we just seem to be having busy schedules, but we specifically had a really busy one this time, and my guest room was in disarray, so I chose this kind of a week. So I'll share how it was, but at the end of the video I will show you what I managed to do in order to get it back in order. The fact that the house is incomplete means a lot of places are incomplete, so we have a lot of things that are still in this guest room that don't have to be here, but we hope as we continue to trust the Lord to provide and to build, some of the things that are in this guest room will actually live and find a different home. But for now, we work with what we have. And I'm sure you also have challenges you're trusting God about, but we work with what we have to be able to minister to others. So join me, and thank you for being here. Let me quickly show you around. You can see the tissues that should be in the bathroom. They are there. And that table that is actually a sewing machine that will eventually find its home. The blanket in that corner with a box of books that will eventually find their home as well. The bed unmade, the wardrobe in chaos. I mean, like I told you, this can also becomes a playroom sometimes. And our wardrobe rods for hanging clothes are not yet done, but I just need to tidy up the wardrobe spaces. And of course the bathroom, not very clean at all. The hand towel that needs to be done. And now I get to the things I have learned about managing a guest room, and then after that I will just simply show you what I have done with this bathroom. So part of today's video, as I promised in the thumbnail, I just want to share some of the things I have learned concerning managing a guest room, because these are principles I learned from a lady who mentored me, and they have stayed with me and really influenced my viewpoint concerning hosting, concerning guests. But even before I share those, I want to give a disclaimer, because I don't want to seem like I am saying that everyone should have a guest room, even when you know that at the point where you are, you may not be able to afford a separate room to have your guests, or it's not just that season of your life, perhaps you're single, you know, all those realities. But I do want to say that personally I learned these principles when I was younger. I remember at the time I had a very simple one-bedroom house, and we also got married, and we had that room for some time, and then the Lord led us to a two-bedroom house, and then eventually we got a house where we could actually have a separate room to have our guests. And I say this because I know it has been a journey of prayer. I remember when I learned these principles initially, I trusted God for that kind of a home. And one young woman a few years back was just reminding me, because we were in a prayer group together with them, and she told me, I remember the way you used to ask God to grant you a house where you could have a separate room as a guest house. Because initially when our children were born and we were in a two-bedroomed house, actually mostly our daughter had to be in our room for some time so that that room could be released for guests. You know, she was younger, she was a year, 2 years, 3 years, actually up to 4. We had her bunk, her bed in our room, and then eventually when we got to a much bigger house now, we could have her in a separate room together with another room for guests. So I'm saying it's a process, and if it's something you would want to, I say this with a lot of confidence, the Lord answers. He may not answer immediately, like he didn't answer us immediately, but he will definitely answer, especially because it's his will for us to practice hospitality, and part of practicing hospitality may just be the need for a guest place. But from the principles I learned, even as I waited on the Lord to answer that prayer, I still applied them to that space where I had, whether it was an extra bedroom. At some point we had actually 2 bedrooms after the big house, and thankfully the one of the bedrooms was actually big, so it could accommodate the bed, an extra bed for a guest. And so I just practiced the same principles within that limited space until now I could talk of a guest room. But I need also to say that this house is not complete, and so there are many things that I still haven't done. I keep going as I trust the Lord to provide. When he provides this, I do. My daughters love to do DIYs, so they will try to make it as colorful as possible. I also get so busy sometimes, but I try to work on the essentials of a guest room, as I will share. So I hope that will make a lot of sense, even as we go into sharing the 7 points that I just noted of some of the things I have learned, and I'm trusting God to continue helping me, and I pray they will be helpful for you. And the first thing I will share is when talking about a guest room in your house, make a guest room as comfortable as you possibly can. And I say possibly can because we can not always make a space perfectly comfortable. We are in a fallen world, but you just want to trust the Lord that with the means he provides, you can make it comfortable. Whether it's a good mattress so that a guest can feel okay as they spend on that bed, you know, nice looking covers, sheets, you know, all that. Having a chair beside, I know one lady who would talk of this woman, Shunammite woman, who gave the prophet a bed, a chair, and a table. Those were essentials. At least if you could work with that and just make the room as comfortable as possible, I know that would make a guest really feel at home and at peace in your home. And even when it's that extra bed, because that's what I did, you can also trust the Lord to help you. Just make that bed. I used to make sure that bed is made a lot of times because the house was small. Of course, clothes would pile on there, but make sure they are folded by the time a guest is coming. At least that bed is comfortable. The second thing I would say is ensure your guest room or space is clean. I don't know how many times you've gone to a home and just found the bathroom terrible. For example, you almost feel like you want to tiptoe as you walk around because you're not sure how clean it is. And personally, that's why at least once a month, I make sure I thoroughly clean it. And if a guest is coming and another one has just been there, I make sure at least the sink, the toilet, the floor is sorted so that a guest can feel at home when they come to your home. That's why sometimes, just for wisdom, I will spread the bed nicely and not put sheets first until I'm sure a guest is coming, because what I realized in the past is I would put sheets, and then when a guest comes, I'm wondering, well, did a guest come and I put these sheets, and so you're not sure whether they're clean or not. So I just cover it, cover it nicely so that the guest room looks inviting, but make sure that once I know a guest is coming, spread it with clean sheets so that a person also feels at home. Saying this is not always perfect, by the way. There's a time we recently hosted a guest and the room was just in a mess, but thank God, because the basics were clean, the bathroom, the floor. All I needed to do was set the place in order, because sometimes when a place is not visited like that, it tends to be a place where children will also want to come, and you just find it's disorganized. So it's not always perfect, but you try to ensure that that space is clean and well taken care of, just to give your guests space. And then the next thing is make it natural and inviting as much as possible. Please don't go out of your way, because I don't want you to imagine you must get a duvet cover, you must get exquisite furniture, you must make sure the decor is really nice. Of course, I'd like to do some decor DIY here. I've not had time to do so, but I'm just trying with what I have. So make it natural. Don't go out of your way, but just trust the Lord for a beautiful looking space, as much as the Lord will help you. If you can make a mat like a friend did for me, do it, so that you just make it natural and as simple and inviting as possible. Then the next thing is, in case you have a separate space, you can make it as private as you possibly can. And I know this because I have been a beneficiary of people's guest rooms. We have felt at peace sometimes, because you're just going there to rest, to relax. You have time to read. Some guests also come because they are preparing for a sermon, they are preparing to go for a mission. Some have just come to rest. So I'm thankful that the planning of this house has actually made this guest room quite kind of private, yet it's part of the house, and that also makes guests feel at home. Feel they can rest, they have access to the kitchen whether you're there or not, and they just feel at home. So as much as possible, have it with a lock and key. Like I've said, this house is not complete, but we have DIY'd a way of making sure we close the door so that guests also feel private, especially when you have children. And of course, we are training them to knock doors before they enter rooms, but when you have toddlers, you need to just make sure your guest room is private, especially when you have a couple. And then equip it with the essentials that would facilitate the basic needs of a guest. Tissue, soap, something a towel maybe to wipe their hands, just the essentials. And we talked about some of them that are in the scripture: a table, a chair. I don't have a table, but at least I have a chair in some place that I have DIY'd where someone can place a phone. I actually used logs, because when this house was being built, some trees were brought down, and I just DIY'd some of the logs that were remaining and put them there, at least until I can get something that would work even better. So just the essentials. You don't have to go out of your way, like we have said, so that a guest can feel comfortable. And then the next thing, this one helps me a lot. There are times I get caught up. I am human. I will prepare when a guest is coming, but I'm thankful that a lot of times I try not to do that. Have a routine to clean the guest room. Don't make it a major cleaning project when guests come. You see, like now, because I have cleaned it one of the Saturdays, like I shared in a previous video, you are certain it's clean. Unless someone in the household goes there into the toilet, at least you will just come to do some dusting, not a lot, so that you're also prepared to have the guests come. So you want to make it as part of your cleaning routine in the home. That way you won't feel harassed when you have guests coming. And I say this because the Lord has taught us in scripture, and even culturally we know we will keep having guests coming not necessarily like countries where you have to prepare, you know. For us, you can trust the Lord that this is part of your routine so that you're not overwhelmed when you actually have the guests. And then the final one, I pray this is point 7. I hope I've gone through all the 7. Pray, pray, pray. For me, I have prayed because I have shared in a book I have written, and I'll link the book below on based on Proverbs 31, and if you're interested you could buy it. It's on Amazon. But I said that hospitality didn't come naturally for me, and I had to pray. I had to trust the Lord to practice hospitality the way He wanted me to. And one of the things therefore I had to do was to pray a lot. And I keep praying that the Lord would grant that our home, our household would be conducive for the purposes of God to thrive in us and in those that the Lord brings to our home. So just pray. Pray. God hears and answers prayer, that those who come to your home will experience the blessing that, you know, the blessing of God. They will experience the blessedness of God because they have come to your home. I'm actually beginning to share what I have done the other way around because I like to start with the harder work. I had begun with the bathroom, Tara cleaned it, and then came to the floor. And now I worked on the bed, it's done. Worked on the mat, it's done. And then worked on that table that is actually a sewing machine like I told you. I'm thankful our children set it up. It's kind of like a centerpiece using those old tapes. If you remember those tapes that we used to use, now they are no longer very useful, so they have painted them. And you remember the VCR tapes, and they are using them to decorate the guest room. Some dried flowers covered that table so that it looks nice, doesn't look like a sewing machine. Someone can place something together with that corner table that I have put that cover just to keep it looking neat. And then came to the bathroom, worked on the floor. As I told you, on the sink, I'm just showing you this because this one I also make it at home. My hand wash I don't have to buy. I also DIY'd that little shelf. I just used my brain. Then I think at the time I wasn't familiar with YouTube a lot, but I worked on that shelf to place things on above the sink. And then there's a towel, replaced the toilet that has been done, at least with a verse to encourage the guests as they use the bathroom. And of course also with just a little piece of cloth that I found that fits very well on top of the toilet. And then the flowers that I started with, if you saw the intro, I like to try bouquets. I struggle to make nice bouquets, but I try with the flowers around our compound, and I just place that on the window. So basically that's what I did. So that's what I wanted to share with us about a guest room, and I pray that this has been a blessing. So as we bring this video to a close, thank you for being here. The Lord bless you, and look out for our next video that I pray will be a blessing to you. And until that next video.